He hadn't thought about her in years. Not really. But then, her name popped up. A random suggestion. A profile. A face he almost didn't recognize. Except something about the eyes hadn't changed. And just like that, he was 17 again. Sitting in the back of a noisy classroom. Watching her laugh at something stupid. Wondering what it would feel like to finally say what he never had the courage to say. You know that feeling, right? When the past doesn't just visit you, it pulls you back in. So he clicked. Scrolled. Paused. Her life looked perfect. Almost too perfect. Pictures in new cities. Smiling with people he didn't know. A version of her that felt polished. Untouchable. And yet, something was off. He couldn't explain it. Not yet. But instead of ignoring it, he did something most people wouldn't. He sent a message. Simple. Casual. Safe. Hey, it's been a long time. Now here's where it gets strange. She replied. Fast. Too fast. And not the way he expected. Because instead of a polite, "How have you been?" she sent something that made him stop breathing for a second. 3 words. I remember everything. Everything. What did that even mean? At first, it felt exciting. Like maybe, just maybe, this was the second chance he never got. But what he didn't realize yet was that this message wasn't a beginning. It was a warning. And the more he tried to reconnect with the girl he once knew, the more he realized she wasn't the same person anymore. And neither was the story he remembered. But the real question is, what exactly had she been remembering all this time? And why did it feel like she'd been waiting for him? At first, it felt harmless. Just 2 people catching up. Old jokes. Shared memories. Late-night texts that stretched longer than they should. But something about her replies didn't sit right. She remembered everything. Not just the big moments. Anyone could do that. No, she brought up the small things. The exact song playing during a random school event. A throwaway comment he barely remembered saying. Even the day he almost talked to her, but didn't. That one hit him. Because he never told anyone about that. Not a single person. So how did she know? He brushed it off at first. Told himself it was coincidence. Maybe she just had a better memory. Or maybe he had forgotten more than he thought. But then she said something else. You used to sit 2 seats behind me. Left side. You'd tap your pen when you were nervous. He froze. That wasn't normal. That wasn't casual memory. That was observation. The kind you don't forget. Or the kind you don't admit. And suddenly, this didn't feel like reconnecting anymore. It felt like he had been watched. Studied. For a long time. Still, he didn't stop. Because there was something pulling him in. Something familiar. Comforting, even. Like the version of her he used to know was still there, just beneath the surface. So he leaned in. Asked more questions. Tried to understand who she had become. And that's when she suggested something unexpected. Let's meet. Simple. Direct. No hesitation. And without thinking it through. He said yes. But the moment he did, she replied instantly. Good. I've been waiting for this. And for the first time, that sentence didn't feel sweet. It felt planned. What exactly had he just agreed to? The moment was set. A small cafe. Quiet. Neutral ground. At least, that's what he told himself. But on the day they were supposed to meet, something felt off. You know that gut feeling you try to ignore? Yeah, that. He got there early. Checked his phone. No new messages. Which was strange, because she had been replying instantly all week. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Still nothing. And just as he started thinking maybe she wasn't coming, his phone buzzed. I can see you. He looked up immediately. Heart racing. Scanned the room. Nothing. Just a couple arguing softly in the corner. A guy on his laptop. A barista wiping the counter. No sign of her. He typed back. Where are you? 3 dots appeared. Stopped. Then appeared again. I'm closer than you think. Now his chest felt tight. This wasn't normal. This wasn't how people acted. He stood up. Walked toward the door. Half expecting her to walk in any second and laugh it off. But she didn't. Instead, his phone buzzed again. Blue shirt. Same nervous habit. He froze. Slowly looked down. His fingers were tapping the table. Just like she said. He hadn't even noticed. And that's when it hit him. She wasn't late. She was already there. Watching. But where? He turned again. Slower this time. Studying every face. Every movement. Trying to catch the smallest sign. And then, his eyes landed on someone. Sitting alone. Back corner. Head slightly tilted. Looking directly at him. Smiling. But something about that smile. It didn't feel familiar. Not even a little. It felt like she knew something he didn't. And in that moment, he realized something chilling. This wasn't going to be the reunion he imagined, because the girl he came to meet was acting like she'd never left his life. So why did it feel like he was the only one just arriving? He hesitated, just for a second, but that second stretched longer than it should, because the person sitting in that corner looked like her. Same eyes, same face, but everything else felt off. The way she sat, too still. The way she smiled, too precise, like she had practiced it. He forced himself to walk over, each step heavier than the last. Hey. The word barely left his mouth. She didn't respond right away, just watched him, studied him. Then finally, you took longer than I expected. Not hi, not it's been a while. That. And somehow, that bothered him more than anything else so far. He sat down slowly, tried to shake it off. Traffic was bad, he said, even though it wasn't. She nodded, like she already knew, then leaned forward slightly. And that's when things got worse. You still lie when you're uncomfortable. His stomach dropped. This wasn't nostalgia anymore. This was exposure. He tried to laugh it off. People don't change that much, I guess. But she didn't laugh. Didn't even smile this time. You did. Silence. Heavy. Thick. Uncomfortable. He searched her face for something. Anything. Familiar. But the more he looked, the less he recognized her. So he asked the one question that had been building since he saw her. Do I know you? Wrong question. The moment it left his mouth, her expression changed. Not angry. Not sad. Something worse. Disappointed. And then she said it. Slow. Clear. Almost hurt. You used to. That answer didn't make sense. Not fully. But before he could respond, she reached into her bag, pulled something out, and slid it across the table. A photo. Old. Slightly faded. He looked down, and his heart nearly stopped. Because what he saw in that picture wasn't how he remembered things. Not even close. And somehow, he was right in the middle of it. So why didn't he remember this at all? He stared at the photo, longer than he should have, because the longer he looked, the less it made sense. It was from high school. Same uniforms. Same classroom. Same faces, including hers. And his. But they weren't just in the same room. They were close. Too close. Standing side by side. Her leaning slightly toward him. His hand, resting on her shoulder. Comfortable. Familiar. Like it had happened 100 times before. But that wasn't possible. Because in his memory, they barely spoke. He swallowed. Hard. This isn't right. His voice sounded distant. Even to himself. She didn't react. Didn't defend it. Just watched him struggle with it. You really don't remember, she said quietly. Not a question. A realization. And that's when the tension shifted. For the first time, she didn't seem in control. She seemed hurt. I thought you were pretending, she continued. I thought this was some kind of joke. He shook his head. No. I would remember this. But even as he said it, doubt crept in. Because the photo felt real. Too real to fake. And then she dropped something that made everything worse. You used to wait for me after school. He blinked. No, I didn't. Yes, she said instantly. Every day? By the gate. His chest tightened. That detail. Something about it felt familiar. Like a memory just out of reach. You told me you didn't care what people thought, she added. That you didn't mind keeping things quiet. Things? What things? He felt his heartbeat pick up. Wait, what are you saying? She leaned back. Exhaled slowly. Like she had been holding this in for years. I'm saying, she paused, eyes locked on his. We weren't just classmates. Silence hit harder this time. Because suddenly, this wasn't about a forgotten moment. It was about an entire part of his life. Missing. Gone. And the scariest part? She remembered every second of it. So what else had he forgotten? And why was she the only one who didn't? The word hung in the air. Different. Not vague. Not dramatic. Specific. And somehow worse. He leaned back slowly, trying to process it. Different how, he asked. His voice wasn't steady anymore. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she reached into her bag again, pulled out her phone, tapped once, then turned the screen toward him. Watch. It was a video. Shaky. Old. Recorded on something low quality. A classroom. Voices in the background. Then, him. Walking in. Same face. Same clothes. But the way he moved was wrong. Too stiff. Too controlled. Like every step had been calculated. That's the day you came back, she said quietly. He stared. Heart pounding louder now. On the screen, someone called his name. He turned. Smiled. But it wasn't his smile. It didn't reach his eyes. It didn't feel real. I tried to talk to you after, she continued. You looked at me like I was a stranger. His throat tightened. No, I wouldn't do that. You did. No hesitation. No doubt. And when I mentioned the things we used to do, the places we went, you just said. She paused. Like repeating it still hurt. I think you have me confused with someone else. Silence. Heavy. Crushing. Because that sentence. It sounded like him. But it didn't feel like something he would ever say. I thought you were pretending at first, she added. But then I realized. She leaned closer. Eyes locked onto his. There was something missing. His chest felt tight. Missing. She nodded slowly. Like you were still there, but the part of you that knew me. A breath. Then the words that changed everything. Was gone. And suddenly, this wasn't just about memory anymore. This was about identity. Because if that version of him was real, then who had been living his life since then? And more importantly, what happened to the version of him that made that promise? He stared at the message on his phone. Stop digging. That was it. No name. No context. Just a warning that didn't feel random anymore. His hands were shaking now. When he looked up, she was already halfway standing. Like she had heard something he didn't. Wait, don't go, he said quickly. I need answers. She froze. For a second, she looked like she wanted to stay. Then her expression changed. Like she was remembering something she shouldn't. If you keep pushing this, she said quietly, it won't just be memories that disappear. His stomach dropped. What does that mean? But she didn't answer. Instead, she stepped back. One last thing, she said. Her voice was lower now. Careful. If you ever start remembering everything at once. A pause. Don't trust it. That made no sense. Before he could respond, she turned and walked away. Fast. Almost like she was escaping something. He sat there alone. Phone still in his hand. Message still on screen. And then, his phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Another message. This one shorter. Stranger. You weren't supposed to meet her again. His breath caught. Because something about that line didn't feel like a threat. It felt like a correction. Like reality itself was being adjusted. He looked around the cafe. The same people. Same noise. Same normal world. But it didn't feel normal anymore. It felt fragile. Like one more question might break it completely. And then, without warning, a memory flashed. Not clear. Not complete. Just a moment. Her voice. Saying his name. Like she had said it 1,000 times before. And suddenly, he wasn't sure what scared him more. That he was forgetting her. Or that something was making sure he never remembered her fully. And as his phone lit up again with a final message, he realized this wasn't over. It was restarting. Again.